Welcome back to another video. As you can see, we are taking a look at one trade idea for every team not in the finals. So yeah, I mean, even if you look at the finals, the two teams, the Celtics, Mavericks, a lot of it built off trades. Obviously, Luka Doncic was a draft night trade. They traded for Kyrie last year. They're the trade deadline winners, I think, with the PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford trade. And then if you look at the Celtics, obviously their two best players, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, both they got essentially in picks that were in a trade with the Nets. And then also obviously they in the offseason got Drew Holiday, Chris Tapps, they got Derek White, a few years back. And just yeah, overall a lot of teams trades are a big part of building a team. And I think it's the most fun part of all the front office, operation things. Trade deadline. I really like off-season trades, all that type of stuff. I think it's really, really fun to look at. And so, yeah, we're going to be looking at, obviously, one trade for every team, seeing which ones make sense, just taking, like, an overall look at some of the players on the market and stuff like that, and, seeing any that, have good fits. First, they have the Atlanta Hawks getting Dyson Daniels, Brandon Ingram, first round pick, and the 21st pick in this draft for Bojan Bogdanovic and DeJounte Murray. Without obviously looking through any other trades, just based off, obviously, I've looked at other Bleacher Report, one trade idea videos and just looking at their articles. Obviously, I already know some of these are going to be reaches and some aren't going to make too much sense. But if there was one that I think was my early favorite out of all these to be, the one that makes the most sense, it's this one right here. Brandon Ingram being someone that I think for sure will be traded just based off how much, the whole team has in salary, paying so many players in the team high amounts. And with obviously the team they have not being able to work out, Brandon Ingram will be traded. And then on the other hand, with the Hawks, likely I think DeJounte Murray will be the one traded, but one of their backcourt players will be traded. And I think it fits, for the Pelicans, getting DeJounte Murray, like, fills your biggest holes. Defense and point guard play is your two biggest holes. You get both of that in DeJounte Murray. And for the Hawks, obviously, if you're trading DeJounte Murray, I think this is a really good return. Brandon Ingram, you're getting 2 firsts, and Dyson Daniels, who I think I've seen in a lot of trade rumors and trade, mock trade, stuff like that. And I'm not too sure really why, because he's still really young, and I think he definitely has still a lot of potential. Really good at defense. And so you add him, obviously, on the Hawks. And I think this is a really good return for the Hawks and for the Pelicans. I think it makes a lot of sense. And that's why I said this is my early favorite already without looking at any other trades. So, yeah. The second one they have is the Nets getting DeJounte Murray for Dorian Finney-Smith, Dennis Schroeder, a first and another first. So 2 firsts basically, and Dorian Finney-Smith and Dennis Schroeder for DeJounte Murray. If I'm the Hawks and you're looking to rebuild, obviously, I think this is a really good return. You're getting 2 firsts. Dorian Finney-Smith, you could probably then flip to get, maybe another first if obviously you're looking to rebuild. He's a guy that a lot of contending teams want. And then if I'm the Nets, I'm not too sure if I really like this. Like, I don't think DeJounte Murray is going to take the team that they currently have to a contender, obviously. And you're giving up even more picks to try to buy into this team you have. I just don't see, it making a lot of sense. You already don't have a lot of your picks from the James Harden trade and stuff like that. And then now you're, giving up more picks for another player that I don't think elevates your team that much. I don't think it makes a lot of sense. Obviously, the fit for DeJounte Murray on this team, I think, is really good. But I don't think giving up, 2 firsts for him makes, a whole ton of sense. Unless you could attract free agents or something like that, you're still stuck in the same hole of not having picks and you just have kind of players. So I like it for the Hawks, not as much for the Nets. Then we have the Hornets receiving Zeke Naji, late first and a second for Micic and another second round pick. So, I mean, we don't really have to go over this too much aside from, I mean, the Hornets do need, I think, centers. Zeke Naji, I mean, I guess if he maybe finds a role on this team because he hasn't really played too much because he's been behind Jokic, maybe shows some talent and breaks out, and then you get a late first. I think that's the only really, good thing that you could see, but this is likely a trade that if it did happen, it wouldn't really have too much value later on if we look back at it. Next, they have the Bulls getting Cole Anthony, Jet Howard, 2 second-round picks for Zach LaVine. Initially, you might think, obviously, this trade's kind of crazy, but, I mean, I have been hearing a lot about Zach LaVine's value dropping because he's getting paid a lot of money. He's looked at someone that could definitely be a salary dump this offseason, and I could understand that. And if you're the Bulls, as you should, if you're looking to go into a rebuild, this is, I think, a decent return. Jet Howard was a lottery pick last year. Obviously, didn't really get too much play time with the Magic, but I think going to the Bulls, where if they're going into a rebuild, he likely will have, obviously a decent role. 2 seconds. Cole Anthony, I think, would be also a decent addition. I don't know how he would really fit with just the fact that Lonzo could be back, and then you have Kobe White. You have a lot of guards, but overall, I think he's still someone that I think is still really good and a good addition to your team. And then for the Magic, I don't know if it's the ideal, veteran guard that they would want, but I think they will be going out and trying to get a veteran guard. I think they would rather, get more of a playmaking rather than a score-first guard. So, I think Zach LaVine's a good one, but I don't think he's the ideal guard they would want. But if they can't get a deal for another guard, I think that obviously this is definitely a good option to go to. Obviously, what they're giving up, obviously it would suck to give up, your first round pick, Cole Anthony, and some seconds. But I think for the return you're getting, I don't think they really care too much about giving up that. Next, we have the Cavs getting Dorian Finney-Smith for Georges Niang in pick number 20. Another trade we don't really have to go over too much. Aside from the Cavs, I don't know what their whole situation is still, but I still think they likely will be trying to contend, and Dorian Finney-Smith is someone you definitely want for trying to contend. And what you're giving up, I think the only thing that they really care about giving up in this is probably number 20, but it's a weak draft class, so it probably has less value than, a typical number 20 in other draft classes. So for the Cavs, I think this is not a trade where they give up too much that they really care. And then if I'm the Nets, I mean, you're getting a first-round pick. I think that's the only thing you really care about in this. And I think, kind of like I was saying earlier, I think what the Nets not having too many picks, they should definitely be trying to get, some other picks to try to accelerate, this rebuild that they're kind of in. So I think this is a decent trade for both teams, but nothing much else to it. It's kind of another trade that doesn't matter too much. Next, they have the Nuggets getting Lauri Markkanen from the Jazz for Michael Porter Jr. Pick number 28, some pick swaps, and some second-round picks. I think the biggest thing in this trade is these pick swaps, as I think that plays the biggest part, because this could either, be one first-round pick really, or it could be, these 3 first-round picks could have a lot of value in these swaps. Likelihood of that is pretty low, obviously, especially if they're getting Lauri Markkanen. The fact that the chance that the Nuggets are, a worse team than the Jazz in 2026, 2028, or 2030, I think is unlikely. If you're the Jazz, obviously you probably have different plans in mind to be better than them by at least 2030. But overall, at the same time, I don't know if I think Lauri Markkanen, I mean, obviously he's a better player than MPJ, but I don't know if he's that much better to where you want to give up a lot of picks with it. Especially with, if they're going to trade Michael Porter Jr., I think a big reason would be is just how much they're paying him, and then obviously trying to get a cheaper option or something. That's relatively around the same skill or better. And I think with Lauri Markkanen being on or his contract almost being over, he's gonna want a lot of money. I don't know. I don't really think it makes too much sense for the Nuggets. For the Jazz, maybe with all the pick value in this trade, I don't mind it, especially with possibly MPJ if he goes to the Jazz with an increased role. Maybe he becomes a lot better than what he is now. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think they're kind of just trying to throw out a random trade idea that probably would not happen for sure, as I have not heard Lauri Markkanen going to the Nuggets at all. But whatever. Next they have the Pistons getting Tim Hardaway, some seconds, and they're trading him to the Mavericks for a second round pick. Or the Mavericks are getting a second round pick in return, I should say. Basically just a salary dump. And I don't know. I mean, another trade we don't have to go over. I like it for the Mavericks if you could, dump his salary. They probably will be able to dump his salary to some team this offseason. And for the Pistons, I mean, I guess you're getting Tim Hardaway. I guess that's cool. Maybe get some PT, plays good. Who knows? But whatever. Next, they have the Warriors getting Alex Caruso for Moses Moody, Gary Payton II, and a 2026 lottery-protected first-round pick. Obviously, for the Warriors, really good trade if you're trying to compete and win another championship in the Stephen Curry era. The only thing I think they really, care about giving up here is Moses Moody mainly. Obviously, you're losing Gary Payton. It sucks, but you're getting Alex Caruso, which I think is a better version of Gary Payton. And the lottery protected first, worst case scenario, if it's obviously lottery protected, if you are a chance of getting a lottery pick, you'll have it protected. So I don't think they really care for that, value of what they're giving up for Alex Caruso. And then if I'm the Bulls, obviously likely going into a rebuild with this trade, as if they do this, they're probably going to be trading other players like the Zach LaVine thing. Still don't know what's going to happen with DeMar and free agency. But overall, you're getting Moses Moody. I think if you're going into a rebuild, another guy that I think could definitely have, if he has a bigger role, plays more minutes on the Bulls than he has on the Warriors, in a way different situation where he's not looking to, try to win a championship. Now he has time to actually develop his game and stuff like that. I think it's a really good trade for them. Next, they have the Rockets getting Jimmy Butler, pick number 15 for Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, and pick number 3. Really like this idea, as Jimmy Butler, obviously, who knows, could be the end of his time in Miami. I don't think it is, but I've heard a lot of rumors, obviously, about it. And I mean, I think if you're going to make a trade right here for possibly going into like a short-term rebuild, because they already have a decent team but relatively young options with Tyler Hero, Bam. Now you're adding Jalen Green. Showed a lot at the end of last season. Could definitely, obviously, going to the Heat would definitely, I think, better coaching, obviously, even. Could maybe change him, it'll be even better. And then you get the third pick. I know it's a weak draft class, but at the end of the day, it is still the third pick. And Dillon Brooks. And then for the Rockets, obviously, it would be a big get to get Jimmy Butler. And to still even keep number 15 in the draft would also be really, really good, as they can maybe flip that then. Or who knows, maybe draft someone at 15 if they really like someone. Who knows. But I really like this trade for the Rockets. For the Heat, obviously not as much as you're losing Jimmy Butler, but I think it's still a really good return. And yeah, I think the Rockets are a team definitely to look out to make a trade with that third pick. I don't see them keeping it at all. Next is the Pacers trading for Mikal Bridges for TJ McConnell, Benedict Mathurin, Jarris Walker, a second, a first, another second, another first. And yeah, so I already, just from the looks of that, I don't like this trade at all. Mikal Bridges is obviously a really good player, but the And I mean, I guess it's realistic to how it's viewed for the Nets. I mean, if you've seen the Nets literally turn down like 4 first round picks for him, um, so I guess it's makes sense based off the value it would take to trade him. But for this, I don't like this at all for the Pacers. I like the fit, obviously, of Mikal Bridges on the Pacers. But TJ McConnell was a big reason of why they were really good. You know, Benedict Mathurin, obviously, he was out for the rest of the season. He didn't play in the playoffs. But he's definitely a big part of what's going on with their building. And Jarris Walker was just a really early first-round pick who still obviously has a lot of potential. And then you're giving up some seconds and some firsts. I think this is just a lot to give up to get Mikal Bridges, as I feel like this is a package that you definitely... I would rather keep my picks and keep a lot of these young players like Jarris Walker, Benedict Mathurin, if I'm trying to make like a star player trade, like a superstar or just a above average, or not above average, but like an all-star that's, you know, Mikal Bridges is not an all-star. He's never been an all-star. He's a good above-average role player, like way above-average role player, but he's not an all-star. This is a package I would trade for an all-star player. And obviously for the Nets, would be a really good return. But I just don't like this at all for the Pacers. Next, we have the Clippers of Kelly Olynyk for Norman Powell. We're not even going to talk about this. Does not matter at all. Role player for role player trade. It kind of does not matter. Next, they have the Lakers getting Donovan Mitchell for Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, Jalen Hood-Schifino. 2 firsts and swap rights on 2026 first round pick. So, you know, obviously, the only way I see this ever happening is if Donovan Mitchell personally requested a trade to the Los Angeles Lakers. Even if Donovan Mitchell is going to be traded or if he is going to be moved, there's going to be a lot of packages, I think, way better and way better offers for Donovan Mitchell than Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, Jalen Hood-Schifino, and a few first-round picks. There will be a better package. That being said, I think it's just a lot of people who, you know, the Lakers are always in trade rumors of getting this guy, getting that guy. You know, with this trade, I think it's literally just if he requested a trade, that's the only way this would ever happen. Like, there's going to be better packages that the Cavs would definitely not pass up on if they're going to trade him. You know, so, I mean, obviously, like the fit for the Lakers, for the Cavs, obviously, assuming they're going more of a rebuild route like this, and, I mean, you're getting some good pieces. But aside from that, I just don't understand the trade too much at all. So, yeah. Next, the Grizzlies getting Isaiah Jackson for Santi Aldama, Zaire Williams. Another trade that, I mean, doesn't really make crazy, you know, sense of, like, talking about. So, yeah, I mean, we'll just kind of go past stuff like that. They have the Heat getting picks number 24 and 25 from the Knicks, and the Knicks receive 15 and a second-round pick. I mean, I guess. I don't know. I mean, another trade that I don't think is insane, especially in this draft class. But if the Knicks really do like a guy at 15 that much to trade up, then, I mean, I guess go for it. And the Heat, I mean, you get 2 late first-round picks. It's not that bad, especially to add to your team, especially with how good the Heat draft. So, I mean, I don't mind a trade for both teams. The Bucks receiving Ayo for Pat Connaughton, pick number 23. You know, obviously, if you're the Bulls, you're looking for draft capital, but giving up a young player like Ayo, I think, makes no sense at all, especially with how he was playing towards the end of the season. Was amazing shooting the ball. Overall, just really, really good at the end of the year. And Pat Connaughton, I feel like, is basically just a filler in this trade. It's really just for the 23rd pick. And especially in a weak draft class, I'm not trading the 23rd pick away for Ayo Dosunmu. I think he's way better than that value. So it doesn't make sense for me for the Bulls. Obviously for the Bucks, I would like to trade a lot for them, but it makes no sense. I think is way better than that. Next is the Timberwolves getting Aaron Nesmith, Jarris Walker, and the 36th pick for Jaden McDaniels. if I'm the Pacers, obviously I would love getting Jaden McDaniels, but the likelihood that they trade Jaden McDaniels away is, I think, obviously he's not that crazy good, but I still think it's an untouchable or nearly untouchable player for them, especially for a package of, Aaron Nesmith, Jarris Walker, and the 36th pick. Aaron Nesmith, I think, has been really good also on the Pacers. And I feel like changing up kind of what made their team so good this year would maybe make it not feel the same and not mesh the same way, even though Jaden McDaniels is the better player. And then for obviously the Timberwolves, the only way I see this happening is if the Timberwolves realize that they paid too many of their players and they're going to get rid of one because of all the money. But I would rather move on from someone else like Rudy Gobert, which would likely, I think, be a really hard contract to trade. But I would rather do that than trade Jaden McDaniels. As it literally has, them talking about them dumping cash, basically. So yeah, that's the only way that would ever happen, but I still don't think they trade him. Next, they have the Pelicans getting Darius Garland for Brandon Ingram and a first. Another one of these Brandon Ingram trades that I think makes a lot of sense. Trading him to a team that Darius Garland's been in a lot of trade rumors. Again, the Pelicans' biggest need really is, a guard. And you get Darius Garland. So I think that really helps you out. And then for the Cavs, obviously getting Brandon Ingram and a first. Really good return for Darius Garland. Really, really good return. I like this trade for both teams. Not much else really to say. Everything I basically said about the first one with the Hawks and the Pelicans, kind of the same thing goes here. Brandon Ingram's going to get traded. Pelicans obviously would like to get a guard. And I think for the Cavs, obviously getting this return for him is really good. Next, they have the Knicks receiving Mikal Bridges and the Nets receiving Deuce McBride, Mitch Robinson, a first, another first, a second, another first, a second, and another first. I feel like that's a lot of firsts for Mikal Bridges. Again, kind of like I was saying with the Pacers one. I don't know what it is, but a lot of these, just the value that people see Mikal Bridges, or at least some people, and the Nets organization, and the Nets organization, the way that they value him, I think is just insane and way above what he's worth. This is another package, again, that you would trade for more of an all-star caliber player. I'm not trading 3 firsts, a few seconds, Deuce McBride, and Mitch Robinson for Mikal Bridges. I'm just not doing that. Obviously, again, if I'm the Nets, I would definitely accept this trade. But if I'm the Knicks, I'm not doing this at all. Obviously, I think it would be a good fit. And I think, Mikal Bridges is a good fit anywhere he would go. But I just don't think it makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of them are just kind of making this trade just for the fact that he went to Villanova. If you don't already know, they already have, basically fucking all of Villanova's team. So, I think that's the only reason why they even said it. But, yeah. Next, they have the Thunder getting Denny Avdia for Josh Giddey, the 12th pick, and another first-round pick. Now, Denny Avdia has been pretty decent, I think, on the Wizards. And, this is still, I think, a decent amount of value. If I'm the Wizards, I definitely think getting Josh Giddey, a 12th and another first, is definitely really good value that I would want to get. Josh Giddey, you add it to the team. He has a bigger role. Could develop more, as you see, kind of take a step back this year now that Chet's on the team and now that they have a lot much of a better team. A lot of other players taking more of the spotlight. And then they get the 12th pick, a lottery pick, which is always good to add for a rebuilding team. And then you get another first-round pick. And then if I'm the Thunder, I definitely also like this trade. You're going to have to get rid of these picks eventually. If they think Denny Avdia is that guy to add to their team that would put them kind of over the hump, I would not mind giving up a few first-round picks and Josh Giddey for it. Josh Giddey kind of lost a lot of minutes, stuff like that. I don't think they care too much about losing him, especially with all the stuff that kind of happened, which obviously it's kind of closed all those allegations and stuff over now. But I don't know about y'all, but for me, it's still a thing that pops in my head all the time. If I see his name, it's still something that will be in the back of my head. So I'm sure the organization's thinking the same thing. Orlando Magic getting Anthony Simons for Cole Anthony, pick number 18, and another first round pick. If I'm the Magic, I definitely like doing this trade. You're giving up basically 2 firsts and Cole Anthony for an upgrade at guard. And then if I'm the Trailblazers, I don't mind it either, considering you're probably going to want to move off some of these guards. Cole Anthony could then be rerouted, I think, in a trade, as they just have so many, guards that are young with Scoot, Shaden Sharp, Anthony Simons. Technically, they still have Malcolm Brogdon right now. So, yeah, I think that it would definitely be a good trade for both teams. Trailblazers get some more picks. Magic go out and get a guard like I've been saying I think they should get. And I think this makes sense for both teams. Next, I have the Suns getting Dyson Daniels, Larry Nance for Jusuf Nurkic and the 22nd pick. I mean, for the Pelicans, I don't really mind it that crazy. I think Dyson Daniels definitely makes me think about this trade a little bit, as Jusuf Nurkic I don't think is that crazy good. I don't think he's an upgrade from Jonas Valanciunas, which means I don't think he's getting them over that hump of kind of like, getting a center to replace Jonas Valanciunas. The 22nd pick is okay, but it is a weak draft class, so I don't know. This is a very toss-up kind of trade. I'm not too sure if I want to trade Dyson Daniels. But at the same time, I'm getting 22nd pick, Jusuf Nurkic. For the Suns, I don't know if it really makes the craziest of sense to trade, another, basically your last first round pick you have for a long time, and Jusuf Nurkic for Dyson Daniels, who's a young player, and you're trying to, win right now. I don't know. It doesn't make the greatest sense for the Suns, I don't think. For the 76ers, Bojan Bogdanovic for pick number 16 and a second round pick. I don't know. I think the biggest thing about this is Bojan Bogdanovic is getting paid a decent amount, and I don't know how their salary cap situation is, but if this salary situation of them getting him kind of makes it harder for them to get anyone in the offseason that's like a star caliber player, then I don't like this at all. But if that doesn't get in the way, which again, I don't know the whole cap situation fully yet because I haven't really looked at that since offseason's still, a little bit away. But if it doesn't mess up their cap situation, I don't mind this at all. You're giving up 16 in a second for a guy that could be an instant impact on a team that's trying to win now. I definitely like this trade for both teams, if that's the case. Next up, we have the Trailblazers getting Anthony Black and a first for Anthony Simons. So, basically another version. They already had a Portland Trailblazers for Anthony Simons trade, so this is a little bit different. This one I think makes probably more sense than the other one. In terms of the player you're getting back, with Anthony Black, I think is obviously a lot better of a return than Cole Anthony. But you're getting one less first round pick. I don't know. Kind of the same thing we kind of already went over. Anthony Black I do really like, though. Next up, we have the Sacramento Kings getting Dorian Finney-Smith for Davion Mitchell, Chris Duarte in a top 10 protected first round pick in 2027. So quite a bit away. I like this for the Kings. Davion Mitchell's basically out of the rotation. Chris Duarte, don't think they care about losing. Same with Davion Mitchell. I think with both of them, they don't really care about giving either of those players up. And I think Dorian Finney-Smith will be a good addition, especially with, I think, Harrison Barnes also being someone they could look to trade. Some of those wing players, I think definitely adding someone like Dorian Finney-Smith would be really nice. And then for the Nets, Davion Mitchell, I think it's a good addition for them if they're, still looking to rebuild. Obviously, any type of first round pick is definitely good to add, and then Chris Duarte maybe can get you some buckets. Spurs getting Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams, and the 34th pick for Keldon Johnson and Zach Collins. I mean, I think this is a pretty decent trade for the Spurs if they can't go out and get a different guard, and this is kind of like their last kind of case scenario, worst case scenario, I should say. I don't mind it getting Malcolm Brogdon, as I think he would be a really, really good fit with Wemby. And then you get Robert Williams, who we haven't seen in over a year now, but still I think a really, really good player, obviously. Possibly someone that you can maybe look to trade at the deadline if you don't think he's a good fit or something and get some picks out of. And then for the Trailblazers, you're getting Keldon Johnson, Zach Collins. I don't know. I mean, I think the fits are nice, but I don't know if it really elevates either team. Like, I feel like either team doesn't really change too much. If I had to give an edge in this trade, it would probably be to the Spurs because you're getting a guy that could definitely help out Wemby. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really care too much about that trade. Next is Toronto Raptors trading for Moses Moody for Ochai Agbaji and pick number 31. I like the trade for the Raptors. For the Warriors, don't know if it really makes sense. I think Moses Moody is one of their best pieces that they could move, to get someone to help them out. And I think trading this for Ochai Agbaji and pick number 31 would kind of make you lose your best asset. So I don't really like it for them. Next, they have the Jazz getting Cade Cunningham for Keontae George, Taylor Hendricks, the 10th pick, and another first, and another first. So 4 firsts and Keontae George, Taylor Hendricks for Cade Cunningham. For the Jazz, if you really think that this would accelerate your rebuild, obviously go ahead and do it. I would like this trade. For the Pistons, if I'm a fan of the Pistons, I would cry if this trade happened because this means that you're going to be in rebuild for another few years. It would make no sense for a team that's been in a rebuild, who's trying to get out of a rebuild, and you're trading your best player who's still really young. And I already heard like a rumor that he's going to sign probably for a max extension with them. So you could possibly extend him for, about 5 years. He's still really young. He is your best player. To move on from him to get basically more picks that a lot of your picks haven't even worked out too well. And Keontae George, who's really good, and Taylor Hendricks, I think, who has some good potential. I mean, I just don't think it depends. Like, depending on your return, I think just doesn't matter with the fact that you're trading your best player and you're just going to be in rebuild for even more years. So if this trade ever did happen, which obviously don't think this would ever happen, but if it did, I'm not going to lie. If I'm a Pistons fan, I would cry. I can't lie. And then the last one we have is the Wizards getting Josh Giddey and a first for Kyle Kuzma. I mean, if I'm the Thunder, I really like this trade. If you can trade a first when you already have like 30 of them and Josh Giddey for Kyle Kuzma, I think that would be a really nice addition for the Thunder. And then if you're the Wizards and you're trying to trade Kyle Kuzma, if you think Josh Giddey could really take his game to the next level with this team, then I think this is not a bad player to go out and get with the first round pick also. Let's see. It says pick between least favorable from Houston, Clippers, Miami, Oklahoma, or Philadelphia. So it likely would be a pretty late first round pick. I mean, Kyle Kuzma, maybe you can get something more out of. I would have to see what else they can get. But I don't mind this trade for either team. Or I really like it for the Thunder. I don't mind it for the Wizards. But yeah, it's kind of crazy over the years how we've kind of seen. I mean, now at least favorable of Houston, Clippers, Miami, Oklahoma City, or Philadelphia. That's like 6 teams. That's crazy. But yeah, so that's the last trade. As you can see, we are done with the rest of the Bleacher Report article. And so yeah, that's just a one trade rumor for or trade idea for every team before the offseason starts. Obviously, we're gonna have more offseason content, stuff like that, and looking at other trades that can maybe go on. And once there actually is trades that happen and free agency stuff that happens, we'll obviously go over it. But yeah, so thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.